The dark side of the planet burned. Fire and smoke rose into space as alien ships moved in silence above the clouds. They came like shadows, covering the stars. The small human colony below had no idea what was coming. For weeks, they had seen strange lights in the sky. The communication systems were failing one by one. Then, one night, the sky tore open. A fleet of unknown ships appeared, moving fast and with purpose. Commander Rhea Sandor stood on the roof of the outpost, her breath cold against the night wind. She could see the lights getting closer. At first, she thought they were asteroids. Then she saw the perfect lines, the blue glow under their hulls. They were not rocks. They were warships. "Alert all stations," she said. Her voice stayed calm, but her hands were shaking. "This is not a drill." The alarm sounded through the entire base. Red lights flashed. People ran, shouting orders, pulling weapons, checking shields. The small colony, called Haven 9, had only 2 defense guns. It was built for mining, not war. "Who are they?" asked Lieutenant Carver, standing beside Rhea. His voice was dry with fear. Rhea didn't answer. The radar showed hundreds of them, maybe more. "They're not from any species we know," she whispered. Moments later, the first wave hit. Beams of blue light struck the ground, slicing through buildings like paper. The air turned white-hot. The first tower exploded. Inside the command center, Rhea shouted, "Get everyone underground. All civilians to shelter." But deep down, she knew it wouldn't matter. The alien ships were everywhere. The enemy didn't communicate. No demands, no warnings. Only destruction. By morning, Haven 9 was gone. Rhea and a few survivors escaped into the wastelands. They carried broken radios, hoping to send a distress signal to Earth Fleet Command. But Earth was far. Too far. They hid inside an old mining tunnel. Dust covered their faces. The sound of explosions echoed even from miles away. Carver broke the silence. "We're not making it out of this, are we?" Rhea looked at him. "Not if we stop fighting." Outside, strange machines searched the ruins. They looked like metal insects, long, sharp, and silent. They scanned the ground with red lights. One of them paused near the tunnel entrance. The humans froze. No one breathed. The machine turned slowly, its sensors glowing. Then, after a few long seconds, it moved away. They waited another hour before speaking again. "Who are they?" one of the miners asked. "Why are they attacking us?" Rhea sighed. "Maybe they don't need a reason. Maybe we're just in their way." But deep inside, she knew something else. This wasn't random. It was planned. She checked her wrist computer. The last message she sent to Earth had not gone through. The communication relay was destroyed. They were alone. Then, just when all hope seemed lost, a sound filled the air, a low rumble, deep and powerful. The ground shook. Carver looked up. "Is that thunder?" Rhea's eyes widened. "No. That's an engine." They ran outside, into the open field. Through the smoke and ashes, something massive descended from the clouds. A ship. But not alien. Human. The symbol on its side glowed through the fire and dust, a silver eagle, wings spread wide. The emblem of the Earth Defense Navy. Carver's face lit up. "It's them. It's the warship Atlas." The alien ships turned at once, like a hive sensing danger. Beams of light rose into the sky, firing at the new arrival. But the Atlas did not fall. Its shields flared blue, absorbing the blasts. Then, its cannons came alive. Bolts of white plasma tore through the alien fleet. One by one, their ships exploded, lighting up the dark clouds like a second sunrise. The sound was deafening. Even from miles away, the survivors felt the air shake. Rhea stared, her eyes wet. For the first time in days, she smiled. "Humanity heard us," she said softly. "They came. But the battle had just begun. The aliens regrouped, forming strange patterns in the sky. They moved with terrifying speed, coordinating as if they shared one mind. The Atlas kept firing, destroying dozens at a time, but for every enemy ship that fell, 2 more appeared. From the ground, Rhea watched the sky become a storm of light. The Atlas looked small now, surrounded, outnumbered. Carver clenched his jaw. "They're going to kill her." "No," Rhea whispered. "Not yet." The Atlas changed formation. Its lower hull opened, revealing a glowing chamber. A pulse wave rippled across the battlefield. The alien ships stopped mid-air, systems flickering. The humans had unleashed something new, something the enemy didn't expect. Rhea didn't know what it was, but she saw the result. Dozens of alien ships fell like stones, burning through the atmosphere. The ground trembled as wreckage crashed in the distance. For a moment, there was silence. Then the radio on Rhea's wrist crackled. "Commander Sandor," a voice said through static. "This is Captain Hale of the Atlas. We received your signal. Hold your position. We're coming for you." Her heart skipped. The signal had reached Earth. Somehow. She looked up again. The warship moved closer, its engines roaring like thunder. But before she could answer, something else appeared behind the Atlas. A shadow. It was larger than any ship they had seen. Black, silent, stretching across the stars. Carver whispered, "What is that?" Rhea stared, unable to speak. The Atlas fired again, but the shadow did not move. Then the stars disappeared. Whatever it was, it had arrived. And the real war was just beginning. The shadow in space moved like a living thing. It was not one ship. It was many, merged together, forming a dark mass that swallowed the light of nearby stars. The sensors on the Atlas screamed with warnings. Captain Hale stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the screen. "Magnify," he ordered. The image grew. What looked like a planet-sized structure floated above the burning world. Jagged lines ran across its surface, glowing red like veins. It was not built for beauty. It was built for war. "Is that a ship?" whispered Ensign Drew. Hale's jaw tightened. "If it moves, it's a ship." Outside, the smaller alien vessels stopped firing. They hovered in silence, waiting. Then, as if given an order, they turned toward the Atlas. "Captain," said his weapons officer, "the enemy fleet is regrouping. 200 signatures moving in formation." Hale didn't flinch. "Then we stand." Inside the ship, alarms flashed red. The Atlas's engines burned bright as it climbed higher through the atmosphere, leaving behind the smoke of Haven 9. Down on the ground, Rhea Sandor and her team watched in awe. The great ship looked like a blade of fire cutting through the sky. Even from miles away, they could hear its guns roar. Carver said, "They're going to fight all of them alone?" Rhea's voice was quiet but sure. "They're holding the line for us." Above, the first wave began. Hundreds of alien ships charged, their weapons glowing blue. The Atlas responded with blinding light, firing plasma rounds faster than human eyes could follow. The battlefield lit up like a storm. Explosions filled the sky. Alien wreckage rained down, turning into burning meteors. "Direct hits on 20 hostiles," shouted the weapons officer. But there were too many. The radar kept filling with new dots. More ships, more enemies. On the bridge, Captain Hale stayed calm. "Activate secondary shields. Prepare railguns." The crew worked fast. The Atlas was a warship designed for one purpose, to survive when all others could not. Its armor was layered with nanoalloy, its weapons built to pierce planetary defenses. But even it had limits. The alien ships were fast, faster than human tech. They moved like birds, darting between plasma fire, attacking from every side. The ship shook violently. "Shields at 60%. Reinforce the front arc," Hale said. "Bring the railguns online." Twin cannons extended from the lower hull. With a thunderous boom, they fired long metal slugs at near light speed. The alien vessels exploded instantly, their shields unable to stop the kinetic power. But as soon as one fell, 3 more appeared. Down below, Rhea could see flashes in the sky like lightning. "They can't win this," she whispered. "There are too many." Carver turned to her. "Then why aren't they retreating?" "Because they're not here to run," she said. "They're buying us time." Inside the Atlas, Captain Hale's face was lit by red emergency lights. "Status of communications?" "Still jammed, sir. That thing, whatever it is blocking long-range signals." "Then we'll make it move," Hale said coldly. "Target the center of that structure. Fire the main cannon." The ship's central weapon began to charge. The hum grew into a deep vibration. Lights flickered. Energy built up until even the metal walls seemed to shake. "Main cannon ready. Fire." A white beam burst from the front of the Atlas, cutting through space. It struck the black structure dead center. For a moment, the world turned silent. The beam hit and vanished. The alien structure didn't even flinch. Then, a deep sound came from it, like thunder echoing through space. Lines of red energy spread across its surface. Hale narrowed his eyes. "They're waking it up." The giant structure opened. Its front split apart, revealing an enormous weapon inside, a glowing core the size of a city. "Captain," said the sensor officer, "it's charging something big." Hale's voice was calm but his heart raced. "Brace for impact." The next second, a massive beam of red energy fired. It crossed the distance in a blink. The Atlas turned sharply, but the edge of the beam struck its left wing. Metal tore apart. Fire exploded across the hull. The ship spun violently. Crew members fell to the ground. Alarms screamed. "Damage report," Hale shouted. "Port side destroyed. Shield generators offline." "Stabilize her." Thrusters fired. Slowly, painfully, the Atlas leveled again. Smoke filled the bridge. Down below, Rhea saw it happen. The warship was hit. Flames trailed behind it as it dropped lower in the sky. Carver's voice broke. "They're going down." "No," Rhea said firmly. "They're still fighting." And she was right. Even burning, the Atlas kept firing. Its railguns turned downward, destroying any alien ships that came close. The cannons glowed white-hot from overuse, but they did not stop. Inside, Hale wiped blood from his forehead. "All power to weapons," he said. "But sir," the engineer protested, "if we divert power, we die slower." Hale said, voice cold. "Do it." The guns flared again, brighter than before. Alien ships fell by the dozens. The Atlas was surrounded, outnumbered, and burning, but it refused to die. For every human aboard, there was one mission left. Protect Haven 9, protect humanity. As the giant alien structure prepared its next attack, Hale stared at it and whispered, "If this is how we end, we'll make sure they remember who we are." The comms officer looked up suddenly. "Sir, incoming signal from the surface." Hale frowned. "The surface?" "It's Commander Sandor," the officer said. "She says she has a plan." Hale blinked in disbelief. "Put her through." Her voice came through static. "Captain, listen to me. The mining tunnels under Haven 9. They connect to an old fusion core. If we can overload it, the explosion might take out the enemy's shield generator." Hale looked at the massive alien ship outside. "You're saying we detonate a planet?" "Just part of it," she replied. "Enough to hurt them." Hale smiled faintly. "Commander, you're crazy." "I learned from the best," she said. The line cut off. Hale turned to his crew. "You heard her. Keep them busy. Humanity's not done yet." The Atlas moved again, engines roaring. It turned straight toward the alien fleet, guns blazing. The sky became fire once more. Down below, Rhea ran toward the tunnels, her team following close behind. Time was running out. Above her, the human warship fought alone in the night, surrounded, outnumbered, but unbroken. And far beyond, the shadowed alien structure began to pulse faster, brighter, as if it knew what was coming. The tunnels under Haven 9 were old and silent. Once, they had been full of miners and machines. Now, they were empty except for the sound of footsteps and the distant rumble of war above. Rhea Sandor led her team through the darkness. Dust fell from the ceiling with every tremor. The ground shook as the alien fleet continued its assault on the Atlas high above. "Keep your lights low," she whispered. "Sensors might still be active down here." Carver walked behind her, holding a small scanner. "No movement yet," he said, though his voice trembled. "But the radiation levels are rising. That fusion core is close." Rhea nodded. "Good. The sooner we reach it, the sooner we end this." They turned a corner and found a massive steel door covered in rust and scorch marks. It hadn't been opened in years. "This is it," said Rhea. "Core chambers behind that door. Can we open it?" Carver smiled weakly. "We're miners. We can open anything." He pulled out a plasma cutter. Sparks flew as he sliced through the locks. After a few minutes, the heavy door groaned open, revealing a large chamber filled with pipes and glowing blue light. At the center stood the fusion core, a giant sphere humming with unstable energy. The air shimmered around it. Carver's eyes widened. "If this thing goes off, it'll make a crater the size of a city." Rhea walked closer. "Exactly what we need." Up above, the Atlas fought on. The ship was battered and scorched, but it refused to fall. "Captain, we've lost engines 3 and 4, shouted the engineer. "Redirect power from life support," Hale ordered. The crew exchanged worried glances. "Sir, if we do that, we'll have 10 minutes of air," Hale said firmly. "That's 9 more than we need." The Atlas turned sharply, firing at the alien swarm. The black structure in orbit began charging again, its red core glowing brighter. On the ground, Rhea connected her wrist computer to the fusion core's control panel. Lines of old code appeared on the screen. "Can you overload it?" asked Carver. "Yes, but I'll need to bypass the safety locks manually," Rhea said. "Once I start, there's no turning back." Carver nodded. "Then let's do it." The others gathered around, preparing explosives along the tunnels, just in case they needed to speed things up. Rhea took a deep breath and pressed the command. The fusion core began to hum louder. The blue light turned white. Above them, Captain Hale's sensors picked up the energy spike. "Sir," said the officer, "massive power surge coming from the planet's surface." Hale's eyes widened. "That's Sandor. Should we pull back?" "No," Hale said. "We keep their attention. She's counting on us." The Atlas charged forward again, directly toward the enemy's largest cluster. Its railguns fired continuously, cutting through the dark sky. Alien ships exploded in every direction. "Shields critical," someone shouted. Hale gripped the console. "Then let's make them earn this victory." A massive beam from the alien structure shot toward the Atlas. The ship rolled to the side, but the edge of the blast scraped along its hull, tearing open a section. The crew was thrown to the floor. "Evacuate the lower decks," Hale ordered. The Atlas was bleeding fire into space. But it still fought. Down below, Rhea finished entering the final code. The control panel flashed red. Overload sequence armed. Carver stared at the warning. "How long do we have?" 3 minutes, Rhea said. "Maybe less." She turned to her team. "Everyone, back to the surface. Now." "What about you?" Carver asked. "I'll stay and make sure it doesn't shut down." "No way," Carver said. "We go together." Rhea gave a small smile. "Someone has to make sure the detonation reaches maximum yield. That someone is me." Carver looked at her, realizing she meant it. His throat tightened. "You always did like doing the impossible." "Go, Lieutenant," she said softly. "Make sure they know we fought back." Carver hesitated, then nodded and ran, shouting for the others to move. Rhea turned back to the core. The light grew blinding. Her wrist computer beeped. A new signal came through, the Atlas. "Commander Sandor," said Captain Hale, voice cracked with static. "We're seeing your readings. You're about to light a star down there." She smiled faintly. "Captain, it's been an honor." "Same here, Commander. Humanity won't forget." The comm cut out. The alien structure above pulsed again, its weapon charging for a final strike. The Atlas fired back, pouring every last bit of energy into its guns. It was a desperate fight between giants. Then the ground below began to glow. The fusion core reached critical. Energy waves burst through the tunnels. Rocks shook loose. The planet itself seemed to scream. Carver and the survivors made it to the surface just as the Earth erupted behind them. A massive column of light shot into the sky. The shockwave knocked them off their feet. From orbit, Hale saw it happen. My God! The beam from the planet hit the alien structure directly. The red glow flickered, then shattered. The massive ship split apart, breaking into thousands of burning fragments. The alien fleet faltered. Their coordination vanished. "Now!" Hale shouted. "All remaining weapons, fire!" The Atlas's final barrage tore through the weakened enemy ships. One after another, they exploded, lighting up the sky. The human warship, battered and broken, finally began to descend. On the ground, Carver watched the flaming wrecks fall from orbit. He looked for Rhea, but there was nothing left of the tunnel, only light and silence. Above, the alien structure crumbled completely, its remains burning in the atmosphere. The sky cleared for the first time in days. Carver dropped to his knees. Tears cut lines through the dirt on his face. "She did it," he whispered. In the distance, the Atlas landed roughly on the surface, smoke rising from its hull. Its engines were dead, but it was still intact. A message played through the static of Carver's radio. "This is Captain Hale. To any human forces still alive," the voice said, weak but proud. "The enemy's shield is down. Humanity still stands." The signal faded into silence. Carver looked up at the bright sky, where alien fire once ruled. "We stand," he repeated softly. And far away, beyond the stars, something else began to move, something even larger, watching from the void. The war was not over. It had just changed. The sky above Haven 9 was quiet for the first time in weeks. Smoke still rose from the ruins of the colony, and the ground was scorched where alien ships had fallen. But for the survivors, the silence was strange, almost eerie. Carver walked carefully over the rubble, scanning for anything left of the tunnels or Rhea Sandor. All around him, other survivors gathered, hugging each other, crying, or just staring at the devastation. "We actually survived," said one miner, voice shaking. Carver nodded, but his eyes were fixed on the horizon. The Atlas sat nearby, its hull battered and smoking. Captain Hale had sent teams down to help the survivors, distribute supplies, and tend to the wounded. Carver wanted to run to the ship, to see Hale, but his mind kept returning to Rhea. She had stayed behind in the fusion core tunnels, alone, to ensure the detonation succeeded. "Commander Sandor saved us," he whispered, almost to himself. She made sure we could fight back." Above, the alien fleet was gone. The massive red structure had been destroyed in the blast, scattered into burning fragments that fell across the planet like meteor showers. Yet the survivors felt uneasy. Something was missing. Captain Hale appeared on a hover drone, speaking to the group. "Listen carefully," his voice boomed. "We destroyed their shield generator. The enemy fleet is in disarray, but there is more out there. We do not know what else is coming." Carver felt a chill. He thought the battle was over, but Hale's words reminded him that victory had only been temporary. Hale continued, "For now, We regroup. Any civilians? Follow the medics to the Atlas. The warship will serve as your temporary refuge until we can repair communications and call for reinforcements. People started moving toward the massive ship. Some limped, others carried children or supplies. Carver helped them, but his heart remained heavy. As they reached the base of the Atlas, the sensors picked up movement in the distance. Not alien ships, but something smaller, crawling across the rubble, twisted and black, like mechanical scavengers. "They're still here," Carver said, gripping his weapon. "They're scavengers," Hale replied over comms. "Collecting what's left, probably looking for technology to repair their fleet. Keep your distance. Do not engage unless necessary." Carver nodded, though his hands trembled. Every step reminded him of what they had lost, and what they still might lose. Inside the Atlas, the survivors gathered in the main hall. Medical teams treated burns and injuries. Engineers checked systems and hull breaches. Hale moved among them, calm but tired. "Captain," Carver said, approaching him. "What about Commander Sandor? Did anyone see her?" Hale shook his head slowly. The explosion was immense. The tunnels collapsed. If she survived, she is somewhere beyond our sensors. Right now, we have no way to confirm it. Carver's throat tightened. "Then we fight in her honor." Hale's eyes softened. "We fight because it's who we are. Humanity fights when others cannot. Remember that." Outside, the planet burned in silence, the alien fleet gone, but the world itself had changed. Craters, ash clouds, and scorched earth marked the battlefield. Yet, in the distance something stirred. Hale's sensors finally detected it, a faint signal, deep in orbit. Not a ship this time, something larger, almost a shadow against the stars. Its movements were slow, deliberate, and it seemed to be scanning the planet. "Sir," said the sensor officer, "there's a large object out there. We don't know what it is. Could be a mothership." Hale's jaw tightened. "This isn't over. Prepare for more. Alert the fleet command when we can." Carver stared at the viewport. "Another one?" "Possibly," Hale said. "Or something worse." Meanwhile, survivors explored the ruins of Haven 9. They found bodies of miners, civilians, and soldiers, many burned, many crushed. Among them were personal items, a child's toy, a family photo, a helmet covered in ash. Carver picked up a small toy and held it, feeling the weight of everything they had lost. But even in the destruction, there were signs of life. Small plants survived in hidden cracks. Birds returned to the upper atmosphere. Humanity's presence, though battered, had not been erased. Engineers began clearing debris, preparing makeshift shelters. The fusion core tunnels had been destroyed, but parts of the mining system were intact. Hale ordered teams to salvage materials for rebuilding, while medics worked tirelessly to save anyone they could. In a quiet moment, Carver spoke to one of the survivors, a miner named Lyra. "Do you think we'll ever be safe?" She shrugged, her face smeared with soot. "Safe? Maybe not. But we'll survive. We always do." Carver nodded, feeling the truth in her words. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and survived. And now, even in the shadow of a larger unknown threat, they had reason to hope. At night, Hale walked the deck of the Atlas, looking out at the stars. He could see the remains of the alien fleet burning in the atmosphere, tiny fragments of metal glowing red and orange. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "We've won this battle, but the war is far from over. Humanity is still standing. And as long as we stand, we fight." Below, on the surface, the survivors set up small fires, huddling together for warmth. Carver looked at the night sky, hoping, praying, that Rhea Sandor had survived, somewhere. And far above, the faint shadowed object lingered in orbit, watching, waiting, almost as if it knew that humanity had survived, and was preparing for the next chapter. The planet was quiet now, but the war had only changed. Humanity had won a battle, but the war for survival among the stars was just beginning. The Atlas floated above the shattered surface of Haven 9. Its engines burned with a faint blue glow as crews worked tirelessly to repair weapons, shields, and communication systems. Humanity's first victory had bought them time, but everyone knew the shadow in orbit was still watching. Captain Hale stood on the bridge, staring at the display. The remaining alien fragments drifted toward the atmosphere, useless but dangerous. Sensors indicated the shadowed object, larger than any ship they had ever seen, was alive, scanning, and possibly controlling what remained of the enemy fleet. Status of the survivors? Hale asked. Medical teams are stabilizing most of them, the officer replied. Supplies are low, but we can hold for a few days. Hale nodded. Good. Prepare strike teams. We don't wait for the enemy to come to us. Carver was among the teams, checking weapons and gear. His hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from adrenaline. The memory of Rhea Sandor staying behind haunted him. She had risked everything to ensure their survival. Carver, Hale said, you're leading one of the boarding teams. We're going after their smaller stations in orbit. We cut them off before they can rebuild. Carver swallowed. Understood, sir. But what about that shadow? Hale's face hardened. We keep moving. We don't fight the unknown yet. We fight what we know, and we make sure humanity survives. The strike teams boarded small fighters and assault pods. The Atlas fired up its engines, moving in orbit to cover them. Explosions from the planet below still glowed faintly, remnants of the fusion core detonation. Target acquired, Carver said, gripping the controls of his pod. Enemy station ahead. Shields at 50%. The team moved in formation, firing plasma bursts to break through. Alien defense turrets came online, shooting beams that sizzled in space. Carver dodged swiftly, returning fire. The station's hull cracked and exploded in pieces. Direct hit, shouted one of his team members. They moved from one station to another, systematically destroying alien supply points. Each victory gave them hope, but also fear, because every time they fired, the shadow in orbit shifted slightly, almost reacting to their movements. Inside the Atlas, Captain Hale monitored the battle. Carver, how's your team? Still alive, sir, Carver said, though sweat ran down his face. We're hitting their stations, but something's watching us. Hale frowned. Keep moving. We can't afford hesitation. After hours of attack, the teams regrouped. The small alien stations were destroyed, and debris floated in orbit. Carver looked down at the planet. The surface was still scarred, but humans were alive, strong, and moving forward. But the shadowed object in orbit began to emit a low hum, resonating across space. Sensors picked up enormous energy readings, far larger than anything from the destroyed stations. Hale's voice was tense. All ships, retreat to safe distance. That object is powering up. The fighters pulled back as the shadowed object began to move, slowly turning toward Haven 9. Its surface pulsed with red energy, lights flickering across the massive hull. The humans watched in fear and awe. Whatever that is, Carver said, voice tight. It's not one ship. It's something alive. Hale nodded grimly. And it's learning from our attacks. Suddenly, the shadow fired a wave of energy at the destroyed alien station's debris. The fragments exploded in a massive chain reaction, sending fire and metal hurtling through space. One of the human fighters was caught in the blast, torn apart instantly. Evasive maneuvers. Hale shouted. All ships, pull back. The team barely avoided the debris storm. Carver's pod shook violently, alarms blaring. We're not fast enough. You are, one of the pilots shouted. Just keep moving. Carver dodged the last pieces, his heart racing. His comm crackled with Captain Hale's voice. Carver, listen carefully. We need that shadow distracted. If we can't destroy it yet, we at least need to keep it from targeting the planet directly. Carver nodded. Understood. But how? Hale hesitated. We'll use ourselves as bait. Fire everything we have. Make it focus on us while other teams strike its weak points. Carver's stomach dropped. We might not survive this. Humanity rarely survives by playing safe, Hale said, cold and calm. We survive by fighting. Now go. The fighters surged forward, guns blazing. Plasma fire streaked across the void as the shadowed object reacted, firing energy beams to intercept. The humans weaved between attacks, dodging near misses while trying to hit the weak points Hale had identified. Carver's pod took a hit. Sparks flew across the cockpit. His shields were low, and his weapons were jammed. He gritted his teeth and launched his remaining missiles manually. The blasts struck the shadow's surface, and small cracks appeared in the hull. Yes! Carver shouted. But the shadow didn't stop. It adapted, moving faster, its energy pulses increasing in intensity. One massive strike of red energy tore through space, destroying a fighter team completely. Carver felt the heat of the beam pass near him. The pod trembled violently. He knew he had seconds to survive. From the Atlas, Hale's voice came again. Hold your fire until I give the signal. Watch for openings. Humanity is counting on you. Carver's hands tightened on the controls. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing something far beyond anything humans had seen. Yet even in fear, he felt a strange determination. Humanity had survived worse. And they would survive this. The shadow hovered, observing, learning, and waiting. And the next move would decide the future of Haven 9, and perhaps all of humanity. The shadowed object loomed above Haven 9, massive and silent. Its red pulses lit the dark sky, reflecting off the wreckage of the alien fleet and the scorched planet below. The human fleet, led by the Atlas, was battered but ready. Humanity's finest stood at the edge of the unknown, hearts pounding, minds sharp. Captain Hale looked around the bridge. Every crew member was tense but focused. This is it, he said. We don't retreat. We fight. Every shot counts. Every life counts. Carver's voice came over the comms, shaky but determined. All strike teams ready, sir. Waiting for orders. Then let's begin, Hale said. He pressed the command. The Atlas fired all its remaining weapons, plasma bolts and railgun slugs piercing the void. The shadowed object reacted instantly, sending back waves of energy that tore through space. Explosions lit the void like lightning storms. Human fighters weaved between attacks, dodging debris and energy beams while targeting weak points Hale had identified. Shields holding at 70%, the engineer shouted. Weapons at maximum. From the planet below, remnants of Haven 9's survivors watched as humanity's warship and fighters danced against impossible odds. Carver's team pushed forward, drawing fire to expose vulnerabilities in the shadowed object. The first strike hit. Small fractures appeared in its armor. Red energy leaked, glowing like molten metal. Hale's eyes narrowed. Hit it again. We've got a chance. The shadow shifted, firing twin beams that tore apart debris and fighters alike. One pilot cried out as his pod exploded. Carver felt the heat as energy passed near him. His pod shook violently. Keep firing, he shouted, pushing his weapons to their limits. Every strike that hit the shadowed hull made a tiny crack, a small victory. Then Hale saw it, the core. A pulsating red heart at the center of the object. If they could destroy it, the threat would end. All firepower on the core. Hale ordered. The Atlas unleashed everything, railguns firing in unison, plasma cannons burning through the void. Fighters followed, aiming carefully at the glowing red heart. The shadow screamed, if a machine could scream, sending waves of energy in all directions. The human fleet took hits, but the assault did not stop. Carver fired the last missile from his pod directly at the core. Impact. The shadow shuddered, cracks spreading across its hull like lightning. Red energy burst outward, shaking the fleet. Hale gritted his teeth. Hold your positions. We finish this. Another strike from the Atlas hit. Another from the fighters. The core began to collapse inward, glowing brighter and brighter. The shadow roared one final time, a wave of energy blasting outward, tearing apart space debris and small ships. Human pods spun violently, alarms screaming, but the core continued to crack. Then, a massive white light erupted from the shadow's core. It expanded, filling the void with blinding brilliance. The object trembled, then exploded. The shockwave blasted through the remnants of the alien fleet, destroying everything in its path. The red glow vanished. The shadowed object was gone. Silence followed. The Atlas floated, battered but alive. Carver's pod drifted near, smoking but intact. Hale's voice came over the calm but relieved. Humanity stands. All ships, report in. One by one, the strike teams checked in. Survivors cheered. Humanity had survived the impossible. Carver looked at the planet below. Craters, ash, and debris covered the surface, but the sky was clear. He whispered, "We did it. Rhea, we did it." Back on the surface, Hale ordered teams to recover survivors and repair what they could. Humanity had paid a high price, but they were still alive. Hours later, the human fleet gathered in orbit above Haven 9. Captain Hale spoke to the surviving crew and civilians. "We faced a threat larger than any we imagined. We faced impossible odds. Yet we survived because humanity fights. We do not yield. We do not surrender. And we never will." Carver watched the stars, thinking of Rhea Sandor. Somewhere out there, she had made the ultimate sacrifice to save them all. Humanity had survived because of people like her. Brave, selfless, unyielding. Hale continued, "This war is not over. But today, we proved that humanity is stronger than fear. We are stronger than the darkness. We are the masters of our destiny. And we will continue to fight, together." Cheers erupted across the fleet. The humans on Haven 9 looked up at the stars, knowing they had survived a threat that could have destroyed them all. Carver clenched his fists. Humanity had been tested, and had risen. Above, the stars shone brighter. The universe was vast, full of unknown dangers, but humanity had proven one truth. No matter how dark the sky, humans would stand. Humans would fight. And humans would survive. The war for the stars had begun, but for the first time in a long time, humanity had hope. And somewhere deep in space, beyond the stars they knew, other civilizations would learn the same truth. Do not underestimate humanity.